And the Masters of the Universe.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another official He-Man and the Masters of the Universe YouTube episode commentary. My name is James Etok, and today's episode may not be one of the best episodes of the series, but it is one that I have very fond memories of. The Curse of the Spellstone, written by Mark Scott Zicree, a writer who I feel had a fantastic grasp of the series, like really good. He only wrote 3 episodes, The Curse of the Spellstone, Reign of the Monster and Ordeal in the Darklands, but all 3 episodes have a very definitive dark side to them. I mean, the main villain, as it were, in this episode is a living organism that causes death by suffocation. I mean, yowza. This episode was loosely based on the Filmation script premise, Eternia's Ordeal, one of many initial ideas conjured up by the staff writers at Filmation, primarily Robbie London, I believe. In the original story, Eternia's Ordeal, angry citizens plan to revolt against the royal family when a series of storms threaten Eternia. And as this episode proceeds, you will see the parallels. So the first draft of this script was delivered on December the 13th, 1982, quite a few years ago. Some really strange music in this opening. I like it. Really, really odd. Check it out. And this panning shot is one of those things I absolutely loved about the earliest episodes of the series. Eternia felt like a very magical and yet very dangerous place. Just look at the landscape, it's so barren. It kind of fills you with awe, but at the same time, it's pretty terrifying. Oh, who is this? Who's turning up? Who's blowing doors open? It's Skeletor and Evil Lyn. Evil Lyn, who plays a more important role than Skeletor in this episode. So now we're going to see Evil Lyn cast an evil spell, because she doesn't cast good ones. Now, the reason I didn't wax lyrical over Evil Lyn's spell there is I just wanted to talk about that for a second. So I've always been in the opinion that when a writer includes a spell in an episode of He-Man, it's an anagram in some way. So if you can decipher Otto Redundis Serenadum Ardor, I will give you £1,000. I won't, but... So yeah, here we are at the Royal Palace. Check out those interesting pieces of objet d'art, worth a pretty penny, one would surmise. As with many of the earliest episodes of the series, our first visit to the Royal Palace has Orko working his magic. Interestingly, in the script he was still referred to as Gorpo until 15th of December 1982 to be specific. Oh, and check it out, Orko has a mouth in that previous shot. The only time in the series we see a pretty obvious comedy mouth illustrated for the little dude. And here Prince Adam undermines Orko completely by ruining his little magic trick. If I was Orko, I'd use all my powers and teleport his ass into the abyss.
How'd you do that? We magicians never reveal our secrets.
Be sure to look at the poses here of King Randor and Man-at-Arms. Firstly, Man-at-Arms is holding his club. I'll talk about that in a second. But check out Randor with his hand placed on Man-at-Arms' shoulder, which is not there in the following shot. Oh, and listen to this piece of dialogue coming up.
Duncan. My weather-controlling satellite will make us masters of the seasons, Your Majesty.
Masters of the Seasons. I love the idea that a character would turn around and be like, but isn't the show Masters of the Universe, not Masters of the Seasons? So yeah, I was saying about Man-at-Arms' club. In the model sheet of Man-at-Arms and the character turnaround, he was illustrated with his club in hand. Sometimes Filmation, in order to cut costs, would simply use a model sheet pose in a shot. However, when they did this with Man-at-Arms, his club would appear, which was a really silly mistake for them to make. Oh, Man-at-Arms had flesh-coloured hands there. Wrong. One of the things I always laugh about is the cliched line, I thought it was only a legend. It pops up a few times in the series and numerous other cartoons. Here Prince Adam's going to say it.
Something that could. The Spellstone.
The Spellstone? I thought it was only a legend.
I thought it was only a legend. I like the way he lowers his head though, almost like he's embarrassed to say that line. The reason I say it's cliched is it just helps create a lot of backstory without actually having to write any backstory. So yeah, Adam says it. He's embarrassed. Let's go and change into He-Man. Very interesting variation on the transformation here with Prince Adam posed like he would be during the stock footage at Castle Grayskull. Check it out.
By the power of Grayskull!
There he goes, commanding the power of Grayskull. And so the transformation sequence happens. He's holding the Sword of Power. And I'll use the transformation sequence to take a breather. Now look at this shot of Evelyn and Skeletor coming up. Evelyn is missing her gauntlets, wrong, and Skeletor's missing the straps on his back, also wrong. Someone in the art department was clearly having a very bad day. Next to Nadira from Evelyn's plot, this may be one of Evelyn's best disguises, because with it she achieves a great deal. As she beautifully says here,
"A voice in the crowd can do more damage than even this storm."
A voice in the crowd can do more damage than even this storm. Beautiful writing, Zikri. Well done. Although not named during the episode, the old lady that Evelyn transforms herself into is called Xenia in the script. I know this because I own the script, and from this point on she isn't referred to as Evelyn, so there. Another way you can tell this is an early script is that Orko gets left behind at the palace. If this were a Season 2 episode, you could guarantee 100% that he would be tagging along, causing a little bit of crazy mischief here and there. As for this big pink creature, in the script it's merely called a serpent, but when it shows up again in Double-Edged Sword, it's given a slightly more appropriate name, a spider saw, which I think works rather perfectly. And they're saved thanks to electricity. It would have been all the same if the spider saw had dropped the attack track into the lava, presuming that it is lava, which it must be, region of flame. I absolutely love this panning shot here. We get to see a unique view of the royal palace. Plus check out all the details. The beams of light shining through the thick cloud. It really shows just how vast a place the surrounding ground of the royal palace is. Look at it. Here we see Man-at-Arms appear in shot, floating on a blue platform. Here he comes. There he is. But we never see the firefighting machine in all its glory. Is it floating? Is it on treads? We don't know. Now if you watch this footage frame by frame, I swear Man-at-Arms takes the full force of that lightning blast. Mind you, Teela has her hands on the controls. I don't know.
Teela!
I like the shots of Evelyn with the fire behind her. Very, very dramatic. Definite choice in staging there. Although never name checked in the episode, these three prominent villagers actually have names in the script. The old man is named, get ready for this, Old Zack. The young man, his son, is not called Young Zack. He's called Jamar. And finally, the young woman is Jamar's wife, Bran. Jamar. It sounds a very heroic sounding name, isn't it? Jamar and the Masters of the Seasons. Something like that.
No, you must be mistaken.
I love how dramatic this entire scene is with Old Zack. Like, no, you must be mistaken. And the creeping Horak. Plus the lightning has a flair for the dramatic, only chiming in once Old Zack has actually said something. Oh, and before I forget, Bran, the young woman, is voiced by Jay Scheimer, Lou Scheimer's wife. Incidentally, Lou Scheimer is voicing both Old Zack and Jamar. And yeah, the heroes have arrived. Actually, where's the attack track? The heroes are in the Temple of the Fire People, but the attack track's not parked. Maybe there's parking around the back or something. Oh, Skeletor and Trapjaw suddenly showing up in the episode. And Skeletor unleashing his hover robots, robot knights, whatever you want to call them. I like to call them Skeletor's cannon fodder, because all they usually end up doing is getting trashed by the heroes. I mean, you know, there's a spring there, and look at them. They're trashed already. Usually, primarily, it's He-Man and Ram-Man doing the damage, though here we see Battle Cat notch up a few on this occasion. There's one.
A great big toy!
Now, this is the part of the episode that kind of reminds me of the script premise Eternia's Ordeal, which I mentioned earlier. Here we have the citizens of Eternia rebelling against the royal family. However, here it is Evelyn that is leading the way. Something Teela figures out due to the tone of Evelyn's voice. I find it somewhat funny that Teela recognises Evelyn's voice, given that both Teela and Evelyn are voiced by the same actress, the fantastic Linda Gary.
It's too terrible.
Don't believe her! She isn't what she seems!
And yeah, finally, bound, Evelyn reveals herself. Although she could have done it as soon as Old Zack located the Horak. She didn't need to maintain the illusion. Now, the citizens obviously react with fear. Oh my goodness, it was Evelyn. She was amongst us the whole time. We're powerless to stop her throwing the Horak. And the Horak begins growing. And coming up, this is such an underrated action scene. I love it. Here we have an organism pursuing the heroes. And it's growing and it's getting bigger and it's entering the palace. And we're thinking, okay, well, it's obviously a threat, but what's the worst it can do? Like, what's it going to do? Like, trap them? That's the worst it can do, right? Then King Randor opens his mouth.
The creeping Horak. Long ago it was used to punish criminals. They'd be locked in their houses. The Horak would grow over it until all the air was squeezed out.
I mean, yowza, that's terrifying. Oh, coming up, a great transition scene, straight into the action. Ready? Boom! I love that, the way He-Man just comes out of like a pile of hover robots. Straight into the theme song. Fantastic. Okay, so while all this necessary action takes place, let's acknowledge the fact that in this script, formation actually referred to death. But not like the problem with Power does in Season 2. No, here we have it explicitly stated that criminals were suffocated to death. That's hideous. I mean, that's really pretty awful for a Saturday morning cartoon. I remember as a kid being somewhat startled by this admission of cruelty by past Eternians. Eternian justice, I mean, was never any good back in the day, and it's not that good now. Actually, that's Eternian justice. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I've just come up with a new video for the channel. Watch this space. I should mention that in the original script, during his battle with the hover robots, He-Man was supposed to use his shield to destroy many of them. Now, as we know, his shield only appears in one episode. The previous episode, She-Demon of Phantos. Now, I'm sure I probably mentioned the shield, even though I didn't talk much about the episode during that commentary. Meh, 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 meh.
A cat lands on his feet.
Great line from Battle Cat there. I always thought this scene was interesting in that when Skeletor shows He-Man the events at the Royal Palace, He-Man is shocked and shouts, "Teela!" but not the King and Queen, who are obviously his mother and father, in great peril. You think those are the names he'd mention, like King Randor or Queen Marlena.
Good. The King and Queen.
Look hard, heroes.
Check out Skeletor there, holding that lever. That can only mean trouble. Actually, I always remember that two-shot of Skeletor and Trapjaw as it appeared in the Panini sticker album. Such a great image. It was like a real prominent sticker as well. The heroes are pretty messed up there. I like the way the Temple of the Fire People just happens to have a large valve to let the water flow into an underground cavern. If you go back to that shot in which Skeletor's turning the valve, check out Trapjaw's jaw. Incorrectly illustrated. As you can see, he has an actual blue jaw, and it kind of fits into the metal part of his mouth. Wrong. There's a lot of water coming here for the heroes. The heroes are in trouble, and they scarper pretty quickly. I love the way here Skeletor's voice echoes throughout the caverns. It's a really cool effect, like a really cool sound.
There's just one way out, He-Man. The others lead to destruction. Come, Trapjaw, to the palace.
Also, the way Skeletor delivers this line to Trapjaw. What if He-Man and the others find the way out?
Never fear, fool. There is no way out.
There's no way out. There's no easy way out. Cue Rocky IV montage. Keep running, heroes. In the next scene, we're back at the Royal Palace. Now, there's a transition coming up that's always been one of my favourite moments in the series. However, I highly doubt anyone but me cares about it. The scene ends with the Horak attempting to tear down the door, and then we see a close-up of Teela. However, the camera beautifully trucks in towards her very concerned expression, and the dramatic music plays. Here it comes.
Dead end.
Like I said, I highly doubt anyone but me cares about that little scene, but I love the expression on Teela's face, the camera movement, the music, the transition, and cutting back to He-Man with the main theme song playing. Awesome. And it's time for He-Man to make a trapdoor. Luckily for him, there's a giant boulder nearby.
If you can't find a trapdoor, you make one.
Is it just me, or is there a lot less water there?
Now, how do we get out of here? Hey, talk about fast service. Finally, someone on our side.
I like Ram Man's comic timing here. Finally, someone on our side. A few seconds later, he quips.
Oh, or maybe not.
And the creeping Horak is now penetrating the door. Time for the Eternians to run once again. Very unusual animation here of Man-at-Arms saving Teela's life. It's not bad at all, it's just very interesting in the way that it's been timed out. It's like some held frames and then he just darts out of shot. And here we have the Fire People, who are often forgotten about characters in the series, even though they feature rather prominently in this episode. There are an entire race of people that appear to be comprised of fire, and the reason they probably never appeared again is that if you look, even when they stand still, they are animated 2 frames back and forth. So that would have been very time consuming for the cameraman to shoot those cells. The see-through effect of their bodies is easily achieved. They are painted with red translucent paint. No real special effects on this occasion, surprising for Filmation, given how much they love their special effects. Actually, that reminds me, back in the earliest development of this episode, Tom Tataranowicz designed the look of the Fire People, and his version of King Helios was spectacular. Helios, is that right?
Sorry I asked.
And we're back at the palace once more. The good guys are running out of rooms, as King Randor states. Someone said to me once, why don't they just find another exit? Well, at this point, the Horak has enveloped the exterior of the palace, so they're simply running about internally. Oh, don't worry, Man-at-Arms has a blaster, which, as you see, does little good at all. Time to keep running, guys. Let's go into another room.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, Orko suddenly forgets how to escape death. He just flaps his arms. Anyway, I'll go back to what I was saying. Tom Tataranowicz, he illustrated this concept piece, which I will feature in a video at some point, of King Helios, sat in his throne. He was human in appearance, muscle-bound of course, like all Eternians, and sported an impressive head of hair and beard. His costume had flame motifs rather than him being made of flame. He also had a small pet dragon like he does in the episode, sat by his side.
Oh, that one nearly singed my tail feathers.
I'm not entirely sure why they changed the look of the Fire People, but hopefully by the time I make that video I'll have some more information. The serpent, Spidersaur. The Spidersaur is back, and he clearly means business. Now, originally in the script, He-Man uses a staff that belongs to one of the Fire People to prop open the serpent's mouth as it prepares to devour the king. Whereas here, He-Man just throws a boulder into the creature's mouth. And if you look carefully, ouch, you can see the boulder actually knock some of the creature's teeth out. Nasty. And sadly, this is the last we see of the Fire People. In the original script, King Helios returns He-Man's kindness by repairing the attack track, which had previously been damaged by the earlier Spidersaur attack. And here we are, the last room in the Royal Palace of Eternos. I think we're going to have to face facts, ladies and gentlemen. The King and Queen, Man-at-Arms, Teela and Orko are going to die. The end. Credits roll. In fairness to Man-at-Arms, that is an impressively big door he has built. Nothing is getting by that, right? Orko looking slightly worried. We see a mistake here. The Royal Palace completely not covered by the Horak. What? I like the way these villagers don't seem all that scared by Skeletor, Evilin and Trapjaw. Also, have they and Evilin been stood outside the entire time watching the Horak envelop the palace? So here is the second duel of the episode, and we see Skeletor sporting his own sword of power. Now, of course, we all wanted to see Skeletor wield his own sword of power as his action figure did, but this was something that Filmation decided not to follow up on.
Evelyn, the Spellstone!
And so with Skeletor disarmed, Evilin unleashes the power of the Spellstone, and our heroes are in trouble. Oh, we nearly see He-Man's ear. Something the artists at Filmation constantly wanted to hide, I think. This is the only thing I really don't enjoy about the episode, the way in which Evilin is so easily overpowered. I mean, this is Evilin. She kicks ass for fun. And thus the threat of the Spellstone is over. It's rather anticlimactic at this point.
A person doesn't need superpowers to be a hero. All he needs is bravery. You forgot that, Skeletor.
Check out Trapjaw in these scenes. For the first and only time in the series, he is rocking his saw blade attachment. And now we get one final action scene, demonstrating He-Man's pretty impressive running ability. I like the way it cuts between He-Man's pursuit of the Spellstone and the Horak advancing on the heroes. Good stuff, good drama. I love He-Man's heave-ho here. John Irwin's voice as he utters this line sounds like he's really struggling. It's a terrific and amusing piece of voice acting.
Got it!
Skeletor and his warriors escape, and He-Man and his friends live to fight another day against the evil Masters of the Universe. Yeah, I'm still going with that.
The creeping Horak, it's gone.
And so are Skeletor and Evelyn.
Look at this shot. Ram-Man appears to be ridiculously short, and is Battle Cat floating?
It's gone back to the Fire People, where it belongs.
Well, peace has returned to Eternia. The sky is clear, and the birds are singing.
The only thing missing is a rainbow.
Let me handle that.
And the episode ends with Orko performing a trick and it going wrong, which didn't happen as many times as you think. Yes, his tricks went wrong, but they didn't always close out the show. Looking at the scene, I think this episode has more balcony usage than any other episode of the series. Like I saved the best piece of trivia until last, right? And now it's time for a moral segment. And it's Man-at-Arms. Actually, he's fixing the Sky Sled that Prince Adam and Cringer were fixing in the previous episode. I think it's time they face facts. This particular Sky Sled is never going to fly again. There's a moral lesson there for you. Except that sometimes your Sky Sled will never fly again. I don't think that would have worked. And that brings us to the end of this commentary for The Curse of the Spellstone. It's a very good action-based episode. Very little in the way of character development. But it deals, if not a little haphazardly at times, with two storylines at the same time. There's a sense of urgency throughout the episode, and that is one of its strongest points. It's a good, old-fashioned action-adventure episode. So yeah, that's it for this commentary. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, please feel free to leave comments below, like and share this video, and if you have yet to do so, please subscribe to the channel, because the more subscribers this channel receives, the more awesome it can be. That is a scientific fact, my friends. Science. Grasp of the series, like really good. He only wrote 3 episodes: The Curse of the Spellstone, Reign of the Monster, and Ordeal in the Darklands. But all 3 episodes have a very definitive dark side to them. I mean, the main villain, as it were, in this episode is a living organism that causes death by suffocation. I mean, yowza. This episode was loosely based on the Filmation script premise, Eternia's Ordeal, one of many initial ideas conjured up by the staff writers at Filmation, primarily Robbie London, I believe. In the original story, Eternia's Ordeal, angry citizens plan to revolt against the royal family when a series of storms threaten Eternia. And
The Masters of the Universe.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another official He-Man and the Masters of the Universe YouTube episode commentary. My name is James Etok, and today's episode may not be one of the best episodes of the series, but it is one that I have very fond memories of. The Curse of the Spellstone, written by Mark Scott Zickrey, a writer who I feel had a fantastic, who plays a more important role than Skeletor in this episode. So now we're going to see Evelyn cast an evil spell, because she doesn't cast good ones. Now, the reason I didn't wax lyrical over Evelyn's spell there is I just wanted to talk about that for a second. So, I've always been in the opinion that when a writer includes a spell in an episode of He-Man, it's an anagram in some way. So if you can decipher Otto Redundis Serenadum Ardor, I will give you £1,000. I won't, but so yeah, here we are at the Royal Palace. Check out those interesting pieces of objet d'art, worth a pretty penny, one would surmise. As with many of the earliest episodes of the series, our first visit to the Royal Palace has Orko working his magic. Interestingly, in the script he was still referred to as Gorpo until 15th of December 1982 to be specific. Oh, and check it out, Orko has a mouth in that previous shot. The only time in the series we see a pretty obvious comedy mouth illustrated for the little dude. And here Prince Adam undermines Orko completely by ruining his little magic trick. If I was Orko, I'd use all my powers and teleport his ass into the abyss.
How'd you do that?
We magicians never reveal our secrets.
Be sure to look at the poses here of King Randor and Man-at-Arms. Firstly, Man-at-Arms is holding his club. I'll talk about that in a second. But as this episode proceeds, you will see the parallels. So the first draft of this script was delivered on December the 13th, 1982, quite a few years ago. There's some really strange music in this opening. I like it. Really, really odd. Check it out. And this panning shot is one of those things I absolutely loved about the earliest episodes of the series. Eternia felt like a very magical and yet very dangerous place. Just look at the landscape, it's so barren. It kind of fills you with awe, but at the same time, it's pretty terrifying. Oh, who is this? Who's turning up? Who's blowing doors open? It's Skeletor and Evil Lyn. Evil Lyn,